Hello, thank you for calling State Fire Case. My name is Carlette. My worker ID number is 5550. Can I have your name, please?
Yes, it's Kiana Clark.
You said Sienna?
Kiana with a K, Keyana.
Your last name is Parks, Parks?
C as in cat, Lark.
And are you calling regarding adult or a child?
Yes.
Are you calling with concerns for an adult or concerns for a child?
I'm not quite sure. I have questions. It's regarding the child and me.
Okay.
So I have a daughter that witnessed a false arrest, April 28th of 2018, screaming in terror. We're being there's a corruption. I have a wealthy abuser that's a stalker that has set up multiple false arrests. So he's using the government, bribing multiple parties to hinder child custody rights. So Kim Cook set up I reported interference of child custody. Kim Cook will not take the reports. The judge, Kim Cook. I went to CPS.
Is it something happened like abuse or neglect, of the child? Was the child harmed in any way?
Well, I thought by her being withheld from her mother and her not having access to her mother out of corruption, would that constitute abuse?
When you're being held, is it just more of a custody? Because CPS does not investigate custody hearings, but if something has happened to her while in the care of her father, then that's something.
Well, I'm trying to report that a state worker and multiple parties have made false statements, so I can't have access to my child. And they're breaking the law, so she won't have access to her mother. And there's custody agreement.
False statements.
James Hastings of Hillsborough, Texas. He works for CPS. He went knowing full-blown well that I had charges were dismissed. He set up a custody dispute saying that I assaulted an officer and evaded arrest. I told him they were lies. Look at the body cam footage. The police were lying on me. And the charges were dismissed, and he still set up a custody dispute and made false statements in an administrative review with Regina Harris.
So let me, Ms. Clark, let me see how you would, if that sounds like you want to file something like a grievance or against someone.
Well, in addition to that, I just wanted to know. I wanted to know my rights, what CPS could do, because if they could take the reports of the false statements, why can't I report that people made false statements to take my child custody rights? Why won't CPS take that?
There is a process. I just have to give me a second, and I can give you that process. But can I get some information from you?
Okay, so I just want to make sure I understand that you're saying that I can't report the false statements that were made to CPS and get a caseworker.
What I'm trying to explain, there is a process, and I can give you that process. If you have concerns regarding a CPS worker, there's a process that I can provide information to you, but you won't go straight directly to me. So let me get some your rep information, and then I'll staff a supervisor and see what's the next step, how I can assist you. Okay, ma'am?
Oh, okay, thank you.
Okay. What is your address? Sounds like you were going through a custody in court with your child's father, and you feel that a CPS worker made some false claims which got your child taken away from you.
No, not just that. The custody agreement is not being followed out of corruption. I have no rights. 2 times a custody agreement was said, and the courts, police departments, and multiple parties are conspirators in hindering the child custody agreement. They will not honor the law. Multiple parties are in contempt of the custody agreement and will not do a proper investigation to honor the custody agreement that's already set. 2 times the custody agreement was not followed. I cannot get any parties to enforce the custody agreement or follow the law out of corruption. So it's not just that it's a custody dispute. people will not obey the law and give me access to my daughter. So we have a custody agreement that the courts and police department will not enforce out of corruption.
And you looking about a CPS worker? Yes, just a CPS worker. What was that CPS worker doing?
Yes, James Hastings out of Hillsborough, Texas, made false reports to initiate the custody dispute. They set up to take my child custody rights away. They didn't follow proper protocol, and after the proper, they incriminated themselves. They pulled out, like they were never part of it, because they set up child custody rights to be taken away. Didn't give me an attorney. Didn't follow protocol. So then they set up for the stepmom to do it because the dad is not in the mental capacity to be making decisions. So they set up the stepmom to set up a custody dispute. But but since then, I'm getting services denied by CPS. I've been reporting to CPS multiple times. And then when I go in, my reports, they won't give me information on my reports and threaten the police for cover-up. I should have rights when I make these phone calls and I report things to CPS to be able to go in the office if they're not corrupt and get the status of my case and get a proper investigation.
Have you reached out to the local CPS office that handles your case? Did you talk to a supervisor?
They won't let me speak with the supervisor or give names. That's why it's corruption. I'm trying to report corruption so something can be done. They won't investigate, and I ask for supervisors. And they deny me the right to a supervisor. They deny me the right to have their name, and they deny me the right to have any information on my case. And I went to one location there, and police intervened in me reporting child abuse. So there's a massive amount of corruption. So I don't understand, why
What is your daughter's name?
It's Michaela.
And how you spell it, Michaela? So what I'm hearing you saying is that you're trying to get some information from CPS, and that you're not getting that information. And where is Michaela at now?
What I'm trying to do is report a conspiracy to violate my rights as a parent. I'm reporting that James Hastings was enlisted to take away my child custody rights out of Hillsborough, Texas. I'm reporting that the court is hindering my child custody rights as a parent. Kim Cooks is denying me access to my daughter and not enforcing a child custody agreement that is already that is in place. She will not uphold the law and enforce the custody agreement. I'm reporting that multiple police officers and agencies will not enforce the custody agreement or do a proper investigation to uphold my custody rights. So I have a custody right, FLP. Family Place FLP will not return my call so I can have the supervised visits that the court has ordered. I'm reporting multiple conspirators and hindering my child custody rights as a parent. I'm reporting that I reported to CPS multiple times the corruption and they're ignoring it. I'm reporting that when I go into CPS offices, they threaten the police, and some police have came to intervene in me making reports trying to have access to my daughter.
Ms. Clark, do you have an attorney?
I'm doing a report to CPS that there's corruption regarding my daughter and my child custody rights. And their people are trying to hindering my child custody rights as a parent illegally.
And they're hindering your rights because they're not investigating, allowing you to see your child? Has your rights been terminated?
Okay. I'm reporting that there's multiple conspirators in violating my rights as a parent. I have 2 custody agreements that no agency will enforce or the court. That's getting ignored.
Okay. I understand that, ma'am. I heard you say that. But at this point, CPS does not get involved in custody agreements. However, I heard you say that CPS worker investigation was not properly done. That's what I'm hearing you say. And you have concerns about how that investigation was handled, and you cannot get any records right now.
Okay, so if people are breaking the law to intervene in me having access to my child, including a state worker, James Hastings, And when I go to CPS to report, get information on the reports that I've made, and they threaten the police, and the police have been there to intervene, why won't CPS investigate that? Why won't they investigate that out of corruption and illegal activity, my child custody rights are being hindered? Why won't they give me any references or anything to help me get justice for the crimes of hindering my child custody rights? That's a felony. It's a crime.
Okay.
And it's a crime to make false statements to CPS. So why won't CPS investigate their own state worker that made false statements? And why do they threaten the police and force me to leave and mistreat me when I'm trying to get anything done regarding my daughter? There's multiple different programs that CPS is denying me. They're denying me an investigation.
And this CPS worker, his name is James Hastings.
Yes, out of Hillsborough, Texas. Yes, but it's not only James Hastings. I have a custody agreement that no party will enforce. That's illegal.
Okay, so let me put you on another big part. I want to ask my supervisor to get a clear understanding of how I can assist you. Okay, ma'am?
Okay, thank you.
Keep on holding.
You're welcome.
And may I have your date of birth, Ms. Clark? So, I talked to my supervisor, and they were saying that in order to handle the complaints and the information that you want to file regarding Mr. Hastings, is called the Office of Consumer Relations.
Okay, no. I think that there's a disconnect. What do you consider exploitation?
I'm not sure, but I heard you say that you have concerns about James Hastings, and you had false CPS cases filed against you.
What I'm reporting is there's a conspiracy to hinder my child custody rights. And I'm reporting you had incorrect information, so I'm trying to give you the proper information because what you were saying wasn't accurate. So it's not just on James Hastings. There's multiple parties committing crimes. It is a criminal offense to hinder child. I'm not able to finish talking to tell you.
I can't, ma'am. Yes. I can't assist you with all the other information that you're saying. But I hear you have a concern with a CPS caseworker.
Right. If I can finish telling you the primary problem for the reason why what I'm reporting to CPS. I have a child custody agreement. I have a child custody.
Is what you want to report, ma'am. Hold on 1 second, Ms. Clark. The way you want to report your concerns for James Hastings, that's the part I can assist you with.
That you can't?
I'm going to give you a phone number.
Right. Okay. That's not what I'm reporting as a whole.
The phone number.
That's not what I'm reporting as a whole. I'm not being heard.
Yes, sir. I hear you saying that someone is hindering your child custody rights. With that portion of the hindering child custody rights, we have no control over that portion. But what I heard you say is that
I can tell you what I'm saying if you let me say it.
I've heard what I'm saying.
I would appreciate if you let me finish talking so we can have a proper understanding as Child Protective Services.
I understand what you're saying.
I would appreciate it if you let me finish talking so we can have clarity. You're saying something that I'm not trying to communicate. So I'd appreciate it if you let me finish.
Is there any abuse or neglect going on with your child? Has your child been harmed in any way?
I did report that the stepmom was abusive September 24th of 2011. It was ignored. And then February, I reported to James Hastings some improper things that were going on, and he covered for it. But what I would like to communicate to you are people are breaking the law. Hindering a child custody agreement is a crime. And there's a conspiracy to hinder my child custody rights is what I'm reporting to CPS. My child has had breakdowns. My child has had emotional breakdowns because she hasn't had proper access to me. I'm reporting to Child Protective Services that multiple parties are committing a crime of hindering my child custody rights. I'm reporting that I have went to CPS and the police have intervened in me reporting child abuse. I'm reporting that the court, Kim Cooks, that court will not enforce their 2 child custody agreements. I'm reporting that the police department.
With CPS, we can't do anything about what the judge's decision was. But you said
no, ma'am. This is a disconnect. It's not that the
have an emotional breakdown.
Okay, It's
for
not that
emotional
you can't do
breakdown.
anything about the judge's decision. They will not enforce their child custody agreement. There's a set child custody agreement that no one will enforce. And then FLP is where they have supervised visits. False statements was made to put me on supervised visits. I can't get anyone to enforce a current child custody agreement. Not the courts, the police department, CPS, no agency at all. So it's not what you're saying was not accurate. There's a current child custody agreement that no one will enforce. That's a law against the law.
Okay. So, ma'am, I'm not sure how CPS can assist with the child custody agreement because CPS does not get involved with child custody agreements and or enforce those child custody agreements. That's you if I have to go through an attorney.
Okay, so let me make sure I understand. So I'm reporting to CPS that multiple parties are in conspirators and violating my civil rights as a parent. And I also reported that there was abuse to my daughter that a CPS worker covered for and multiple other parties.
And that's what I heard you say that about the you have concerns about CPS worker covering up stuff.
And I'm just reporting, I want to reiterate that I reported child abuse to CPS and I reported and they're covering for it.
The way you handle, Ms. Clark, the way you handle that portion, I'm going to I've documented what you said to me, and I'll have that in our system from you reporting this information. But this concerns, what I can assist you with is those concerns that you have regarding a CPS worker who has been a part of blocking your custody, being able to see your child. I can give you a phone number to call and it's called the Office of Consumer Relations. They investigate your complaint that you're having against CPS regarding you not being able to see your child and that custody agreement being blocked.
No. What you're saying isn't accurate. It's not that it's the people would not uphold the law. So let's make sure that we have clarity. I wanted to make sure that there's complete clarity. There is a custody agreement that I can't get anyone to enforce. You have a state worker that was a conspirator in hindering my child custody rights out of being bribed and corruption.
Okay. Let me give you that phone number. Let me give you the Office of Consumer Relations phone number. They probably can be a better help than I can.
Well, I thought that was considered child abuse, and I don't understand why CPS won't take the child abuse reports that my child custody rights and my daughter's access to her mom is getting violated out of corruption. Why won't CPS take those reports?
I'm not sure what's going on with that portion, but I did document everything you said, and I will send that in. But at this point, right now, is your daughter? I heard you say she has an emotional breakdown because she can't see you. If something happened to her,
I will reiterate and repeat myself.
That she ran away, ma'am.
Okay, I will repeat myself. September 24th of 2000.
No, can you answer my question?
I wouldn't know because I don't have access to her. But if you're interfering in me reporting child abuse and bruises that were on her, if you're intervening in me reporting that to you in your child protective services, I would like to let you know about the abuse and cover up for the abuse that she's experienced at the hands of being in that environment that she's been in. So September 24th of 2011, she had bruises and I reported it to the police and CPS. And nothing, very little was done. They flipped it over back on me. So moving forward.
This happened in 2011?
Yes. Yes, 2011, we moved away. And the dad wasn't really involved in her life for 5 or 6 years. He had health issues and then became a part of her life again in around 2016. So she started coming over there frequently again in 2017. So 2018, in February, she reported to me that the stepmom was doing some things inappropriate and the stepmom wouldn't talk to me about it. So when I had my false arrest that she witnessed screaming in terror, The CPS worker was like setting me up to take my child custody rights away. I reported my concerns. He covered for it. But what I'm concerned about now is I'm doing a report to CPS Child Protective Services about how we're getting exploited and how there's a legal custody agreement and many parties are involved in the criminal activity of not enforcing the custody agreement, which is a crime. I'm reporting to Child Protective Services that I cannot get anyone to uphold the law and enforce the child custody agreement that they have already set. Multiple parties, and you have a state worker that was a conspirator in sabotaging my custody rights as a parent. There's also a family place FLP that are set up to set supervised visits. They will not call me back, period, to set up for the set up custody agreement. So I have multiple parties that are committing the crime of hindering the child custody agreement, which is a crime in the state of Texas, a felony. And I'm reporting that to Child Protective Services, and you're ignoring that report.
I'm not ignoring that report, ma'am.
Okay.
I have put everything in. I've documented everything you said. So when you're working with, so some of you are saying some more criminal things are going on. CPS does not handle the criminal aspect of what's going on. CPS is more of civil. So.
Well, my concern is when I go to CPS.
Ms. Clark, I'm going to go ahead and.
Yeah, but my concern is when I went to CPS, the police intervened in the child custody agreement, and how CPS.
Ms. Clark, I would like to give you this phone number, and I will send this information that you share with me. I will forward that on, and it's up to someone else to review the information to see if they're going to proceed with an investigation.
Okay, but like I was trying to establish,
this phone number.
I'm concerned about the police intervening in child custody, me reporting the child abuse. That's a concern. It's a concern how when I go to CPS, how they threaten the police to hinder my child custody rights as a parent. So I would like to know, while I'm on the phone with Child Protective Services, my rights, because a lot of my rights have been violated. So if I'm on the phone with Child Protective Services,
you're not on the phone with Child Protective Services. You're on the phone with what's called statewide intake. I do not work for Child Protective Services. I take the information down and I send it to someone who does work for Child Protective Services. I don't work for Child Protective Services, so I really can't answer that question. But I can give you a phone number to someone who can answer that question for you.
Okay, so Office of Consumer Relations, I've already called them, and if I'm not mistaken, I've left messages and I haven't had a return call, but I can try again.
Can I give you the phone number again,
yes,
just to make sure you have the same phone number?
Okay.
It's 800.
Okay.
720-7777.
Okay, so you're wanting me to call there and report the criminal activity to the Consumer Relations because you said James Hastings. I'm reporting multiple parties committing crimes to hinder my child custody rights as a parent.
But we don't have from CPS. I think if you call Consumer Relations and they answer the phone and you ask those questions, or you ask me, they could be able to answer those questions for you.
I'm reporting that there's multiple parties committing crimes to hinder my child custody rights as a parent.
The other parties, we don't police those other parties. So I'm not sure how I can assist you with those other parties. And I apologize for not having better answers for you.
It's not answers. I'm reporting crimes, the exploitation, and multiple conspirators in hindering.
When you want to report a crime, when you want to report a crime, you have to call the police.
Okay, so reporting that my child has had breakdowns and had experienced different things with multiple parties in our child custody agreement, CPS won't take that. And did you document that the police intervened in me reporting child abuse?
I document that information.
Okay, did you also document? Okay, did you document that I went to CPS and state workers have lost multiple reports and threatened the police when I want the status of my case?
Yes, ma'am. But like I said before, who monitors and complaints that regarding CPS workers is the ombudsman's office.
Right, but
And
this is
apologize.
not
I don't
a
have more
complaint
answers for
regarding
you.
just a
I
CPS
will-
worker. These are multiple
I'm gonna
conspirators
go
and
ahead
hindering my child custody rights as a parent. That which is a crime. You there?
I'm still here. Do you have
Yeah.
an attorney, ma'am?
Well, I want to know why CPS keeps covering for it. That's child abuse.
Ma'am, I can't answer that question because I do not work for CPS. And I apologize, but I do not work for CPS.
Okay, well, I like my reference number for this, the report.
That reference number is 760-12853.
And that's 760-12853.
Yes, that's
Okay,
correct.
and I just want clarity, just to make sure that we are under the same understanding. I'm reporting that I can't get anyone to uphold the law on current custody agreements. The courts, the police department, and get denied services with CPS. I'm reporting that. And you want me to call the Office of Consumer Relations, like CPS won't do anything regarding it.
I honestly, I want you to. I recommend it. I gave you a resource ID for that because I explained to you that I do not work for CPS and I do not have what you're asking me to do. I can't give you what CPS does. I can forward this information on to CPS, but I do not work for CPS.
Oh, okay, so you're forwarding it over. So is that a form of child abuse, what I reported to you, if there's multiple parties breaking the law and not following a child custody agreement that is enforced, that should be enforced? Police and multiple parties will not enforce a child custody agreement.
Ma'am,
is that a part of child? I just wanted to know.
I think what you're asking for, and what you're trying to, you probably need more of an attorney. Those what sound like you're having legal conflict.
No, if this is
attorney will be able to help you. Now I'm going to go ahead. I've given you a resource ID number, and I've given you the number. I'm not sure.
I just wanted to know if that was considered child abuse, ma'am, and I called Child Protective Services. I just want to know if that was considered child abuse. I can't know if that's a form of child abuse, so I can know if CPS is denying me services.
Ma'am, child abuse is regarding something happening to a child, such as being emotionally abused, verbally, physical, emotional abuse. If they've been physically or sexually assaulted in some kind of way, that's something that I will assess from your report, and I will forward that on to CPS and recommend investigation.
Okay, so there is emotional abuse if she witnessed my false arrest, and she's had breakdowns.
I got all that information down.
Oh, okay.
I got it all.
Yes.
I got everything.
Yes, and hindering a child custody, a legal custody agreement, the phone calls. I'm just trying to make sure because I've been reporting it for years.
I understand that, Ms. Clark, and I have the information, so I'm going to go ahead and disconnect now, okay?
Sure.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Okay.